All right, shalom, everyone. I'm Brother Doug. Um, I'm here today, and since my brothers and sisters are not physically or virtually able to be here, we're going to do a study. And let me just make sure here doesn't what's going on. For some reason, it doesn't seem like my microphone is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Hold on. What's going on? Hello? All right. Hello? All right. Yeah, this microphone should not be blocking that though. That's not good. All right. Yeah. Hello. All right. Yeah, it's not being blocked, but hold on a second, guys. Let me turn off the fan. I don't want any background noise before we get into this. My apologies. Okay. All right. Actually, I got a praise report, guys. Yahuwah baruch me with this Logitech headset I'm going to be using on my Android. Mainly the reason I can't use it on this Asus computer is because you need a audio connection and a microphone connection for it to work correctly. So I'm just trying to look to see to make sure. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna bring the computer a little bit closer because I want you guys to be able to hear me. All right, so today we're doing a study about. We're gonna do a study about whether we should be blowing trumpets or whether we should be blowing ram's horns. So this study is gonna be called Trumpet/Cornet versus ram's horn. And so some of you might be saying, oh, Doug, what the heck is a cornet? I'm going to show you guys just to start off with, just to pretty much get a decent foundation on why this matters, why there's a huge difference between a ram's horn and a cornet. Okay, this is a cornet. All right, this right here. So in essence, a cornet is a smaller, curved, bent, circular, curved, like in a circular type of curved trumpet. Now, some people will say, well, it's not really curved. Well, technically it is curved. It's just straight and curved in a way. So it is actually curved, though. Like, it actually has a curvature to it. So, but that is what a cornet is. Okay, it's a brass instrument similar to the trumpet. So it's practically a trumpet, but a smaller curved version of the trumpet. That's what a cornet is, okay? Just to explain that, and that's what it actually is. So I noticed that for some reason, my microphone... All right, let's see here if that... Yeah, so I'm going to have to hold the microphone like this to make sure it's working. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, sorry. So let me just see here. We're going to start the study off by we're going to go into trumpet/cornet versus ram's horn. So in this study, we are going to look at three main words. There's probably four because the Masoretic text sometimes will use three different words to describe either a trumpet or cornet or a ram's horn. So it's kind of weird. But in the Greek, there's usually two main words, and for the majority of the time, from what I've seen, it's one majority word, and that's salpix. So, okay, so one majority word, the one main word, the majority, 80-90% of the time is being used when referring to what we're supposed to blow on the new moons, the Sabbaths, to praise Yahuwah with. So, okay, so first we're going to go to obviously the beginning, would be Numbers chapter 10, verse 2. So this kind of would be the original commandment of what type of instrument they were supposed to make. Okay, so we're going to go to the Septuagint first. Okay, so we're going to look at that first, and we're going to go there. Let's see here. So I'm holding the microphone, my inline microphone next to me because I was noticing the microphone icon wasn't really showing me that my sound was going through to the other side. So if you guys are wondering why it looks weird, that's what I'm doing. I'm pretty much holding this little microphone thing up to my mouth basically so you guys can hear me. All right, so we're first going to go to, on my e-sword, Numbers chapter 10. Okay? And yeah, so anyway, so first we're going to go to Numbers chapter 10. This is the first instance that we see a command of what they were supposed to make. Okay, so it says, and even the header, almost every translation, the header is the silver trumpets, right? Okay, doesn't matter what translation, even the ISR 2009, okay? Here we go. And Yahuwah said to Moses, to Masha, saying, make yourself. So he's telling him to actually beat out and make by using a type of metal to make an actual trumpet to blow, okay? Make to yourself 2 silver trumpets. You shall make them of beam work and shall be to you for the purpose of calling the assembly. What does it say there? Calling the assembly. So this is the instrument we're supposed to call the assembly with. And obviously, unless somewhere down the line in the Old Testament where there's an instituted by Yahuwah himself a replacement for this, it seems like this is a forever type of thing. We're always supposed to use silver trumpets to call the assembly. Okay? And removing of the camps. So like either removing to go to different lands, to when they had to move the tabernacle to whatever land they were inheriting, or even to go out to war, they would use these. Okay, so, and let's see, it says, and you shall sound with them, and all the congregation shall be gathered to the door of the tabernacle of witness, and if they shall sound one with all the rulers, even the princes of Yasharal shall come to you. And you shall sound an alarm, and the camps pitched eastward shall begin to move. And you shall sound a second alarm, and the camps pitched southward shall move. And you shall sound a third alarm, and the camps pitched westward shall move forward. And you shall sound a fourth alarm, and they that encamp toward the north shall move forward. They shall sound a alarm at their departure. And whenever they gather the assembly, you shall sound, but not an alarm. So there's different types of noises you're supposed to use for the trumpets for different purposes. Basically is what's being commanded here. Okay, so then you got, and the priests, the sons of Aaron, shall sound with the trumpets, and shall be a perpetual ordinance for you throughout your generations. And I know some people will say, see, it's only for the Levites. That's not true, though, because if you go to the book of Judges, people that were not of the tribe of Levi, not a Levite whatsoever, like people that were like Gideon, who was an Ephraimite, okay, was blowing a trumpet to go to war. So it's not only for the Levites, even though the Levites were commanded to blow them. Okay, so that I want to make that clear. So the transference of priesthood doesn't change the commandment of you're supposed to call the assembly with silver trumpets. I want to make that clear. So, and if you shall go forth to war in your land against your enemies that are opposed to you, then shall you sound with the trumpets, and you shall be had in remembrance before you, and you shall be saved from your enemies. So, like I said, these were even used for when they went to war. And here we go. Here's the one that really is applicable today, since we are trying to keep the feasts, as best as we can. It says, and in the days of your gladness and your feasts and in your new moons, you shall sound with the trumpets at your whole burnt offerings and the sacrifices of your peace offerings. And there shall be a memorial for you before your Elohim. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Now, obviously, we can't do peace offerings. We can't do whole burnt offerings. That's part of the Levitical priesthood. But in the days of our gladness and in our feasts and at our new moons, we can sound with the silver trumpet. That's something applicable right now. As of right now, this moment, we can do. Okay? So, again. So, Numbers chapter 10, verses 1 to 10 give you the introduction of the silver trumpets. And I just want to go back here to, I think, verse 2, where the original commandment is for them to make the trumpets, okay? And like I said, the majority of the time, now I know it's not every time, but the majority of the time, the Greek word salpinx, which is G4, 536, is a trumpet. It only has one definition in the Thayer's Greek lexicon. Okay, a trumpet. It means literally a trumpet. Okay, so literally a trumpet of metal. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna. So and even if you go to the Strong's, the Greek Strong's, right? It says perhaps from G4535, salos, billow, wave. The idea of quavering or reverberation, but notice how it has a semicolon here in the definition. A trumpet, which we already saw, is the primary definition in the Thayers, okay? So even if reverberation is part of the definition, I would interpret it that it's saying that it's a reverberation, a noise of blowing the trumpet. That's what that means. So it's a literal trumpet. It's not. So, and I know some of my brothers and sisters out there would say that it could be any instrument, but according to the Greek Septuagint, it's a literal trumpet. It's not a tambourine. It's not a ram's horn. It's not a cymbal. It's not a harp. It is a trumpet. Okay? It's very literal. That type of word. That type of word you cannot get the same definition as the Hebrew teruah, okay? Just want to make that clear. So it literally, according to the Salpix G4536, Thayer's Greek lexicon, a trumpet, no other definition, according to the Thayers. So in context, the Israelites were commanded to physically make a silver trumpet, to call the assembly, to go to war, to blow on their new moons and Sabbaths, etc. Not a ram's horn, okay? So, and then, if you're not satisfied with that, we can also go to the Masoretic text here, just to get a second witness here, okay? So we're going to use the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon, because what it does is it takes the Strong's of the Masoretic Hebrew and traces it back to the Paleo. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the same verse here, okay? Numbers chapter 10, verse 2. We're going to go to H2689 Chatzosera, okay, which according to the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon has the same definition as the Greek. It is the Hebrew of the Greek equivalent salpix, okay? So literally the same exact meaning, okay? So make you two trumpets, chatzosera, of silver, okay? All right, so chatzosera, H2689, okay? A trumpet, number one definition in the Strong's. See? A trumpet. Okay? Number one definition. Trumpet. Clarion. And clarion is another, probably similar to trumpet type of instrument, if I remember correctly from my music classes in public school. But let's go to really a good resource here, the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon, right? So Ancient Hebrew Lexicon number 3018, Strong's number H2689, right? Trumpet. Number one definition, trumpet, okay? So we know that both from the Hebrew, the Babylonian Masoretic Hebrew, and the Koine Greek Septuagint, they actually agree on this. Numbers 10:2 has to be talking about a literal trumpet to blow, not any other instrument. And like I said, this is not a study to attack anyone. I just want to, this is for educational purposes. This is for reproving purposes. This is to show people, to expose really what we've just inherited as a traditional rendering of the Masoretic Hebrew in certain translations. And some of the older Bibles, they never translated, these other Hebrew words like shofar as a ram's horn, and we're going to get to that. But almost every translator translated chatzosera as a literal trumpet. They knew the definition was a literal trumpet. Okay, so I just want to make that clear, because there's some doctrines going around that doesn't mean a literal trumpet, that it could be any instrument. So I just wanted to expose that false idea, that false belief. So now we're going to go to Leviticus 23:24, which traditionally is accepted as before the book of Numbers, which would make sense because the Levitical priesthood has to be given first. And someone's trying to call me. I'll have to call them back because I'm busy right now. All right, so Leviticus 23 verse 24 says, in the Septuagint again, we're going to go first, and then we'll go to the Masoretic also. Okay, I just don't have the Masoretic. Oh no, I have the Masoretic under that. Okay, so we'll go to the Leviticus 23:24 of the Septuagint. Actually, let's do Joel 2:1 first. Yeah, so you know what? For chronological order's sake, let's do Leviticus 23:24. So same Greek word as Numbers chapter 10, verse 2. So this is a second witness here. Mind you, this is predating Numbers chapter 10 as the same Greek word that is literally a trumpet. Okay, so and this is mainly the purpose of this study, because I was talking to one of my brothers in the belief recently, and we were kind of agreeing to disagree about this concept, what this feast day of Yahuwah should be called. And I understand it's not literally a feast day, but okay, so this is why I believe it is correctly called the Day of Trumpets. If you want to say it's not supposed to be Feast of Trumpets, but Day of Reverberation, but it is correctly called the Day of Blowing Trumpets, and I'll tell you why. It's specifically talking about a trumpet. If you look at the Septuagint, it's not talking about just any general reverberation. Okay, so if you look into the Greek of Leviticus 23:24, okay, and it says a memorial, right, of trumpets, salpinx. Notice how this is the same exact word as Numbers 10, verse 2, okay? A trumpet. It's not generally speaking of a reverberation of any type of, any type of musical instrument, whether ram's horn, whether cymbal, whether, tambourine or what have it, or harp or whatever, or, I know, there's a lot of different instruments throughout Scripture. So what I want to make clear here is, according to the Greek, this is not my opinion, according to the Greek of the Septuagint, it is a literal trumpet. It is a memorial of blowing a literal trumpet, okay? I want to make that very clear. So even if the word feast part that is traditionally named Feast of Trumpets is incorrect and it's supposed to be Day of Blowing, okay, if you're going to be 100% honest with the text, it's a day of blowing the silver trumpet, or a day of blowing trumpets, okay? Okay, this is the same word, like I said, as that was in Numbers chapter 10, verse 2. So now we're going to go to the Hebrew, the modern Masoretic Hebrew, right? Okay, so we're going to go here, which, by the way, older translations, even though it's a different word, understand it's talking about blowing the trumpet. And I would actually agree with the King James for translating it as blowing the trumpet, because the Septuagint literally has that word, the word for trumpet there. So whether King Jimmy knew it or not, he actually guessed correctly here, in my opinion. Okay, and I know people are saying it's just a clanging. Okay, it's just a clanging, right? Well, look at all the definitions here for the Strong's, though. Okay, obviously this is not a battle cry, right? Okay, they're not going out to battle on the Feast of Trumpets. I can assure you, in this context, you can't take that definition, just a clanger, okay? All right, so notice how it says after a semicolon, especially a claner of trumpets, not ram's horn, okay? So again, we got to take stuff in context here. What makes more sense, a general claner of joy or a battle cry, or it's talking about blowing of trumpets, which that is part of the Strong's definition here. Claner of trumpets, okay? So, and this is why I say sometimes you really got to look at different dictionaries and stuff like that, okay? Alarm, signal, sound of tempest, shout, shout for blast, shout for joy. See, this is why, I guarantee you this is why people think that you can use any type of instrument for this. But if you look at the Strong's, it does say a claner of trumpets. So now you have a contradiction between the Strong's and the Brown's Driver Briggs. The Brown's Driver Briggs is not showing you, they're not even showing one of the definitions of this word that actually means a specific claner of trumpets. The Strong's says, as one of its definitions, like I showed before, it says especially claner of trumpets. So this is specifically talking about the sound of the clanering or reverberation of a physical trumpet, which would agree, mind you, with the Greek of this, okay? It would actually agree with, and let me just find it again, okay? G4536, which means a trumpet. What do you know? And like I said before, from the Strong's and the Thayer's, both of them show this Greek word meaning a literal trumpet, okay? So there's really no controversy when you use the Septuagint for this type of commandment, for this area of the Torah. The Septuagint is very clear on this matter, okay? What you are blowing on that day, okay? It's very clear, okay? And like I said, if you want to look this up for yourself, it's G4536, Salpix. And Thayer's lexicon along with the Strong's, like I said before, it means a literal trumpet, a trumpet. Okay? And also the Strong's concordance of the Hebrew word there, Taruah, H8643, can also mean a reverberation of a trumpet. Now, according to the ancient Hebrew lexicon of the Babylonian Hebrew, it means to shout an alarm. Now, again, I would question that, and this is just my opinion. You know, I'm not trying to force my opinion on anyone, but I would honestly disagree with the ancient Hebrew lexicon because they're not being honest, since they're taking definitions from the Strong's Concordance, because the ancient Hebrew lexicon has to take the Strong's Concordance and basically retract that Babylonian Hebrew to the Paleo. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Pretty much what they did was they took one of the 3 or 4 different definitions of that Hebrew word, and they just placed that one definition. So to me, that you're not being honest with the text. Okay. And like I said, Numbers, it says here, so Numbers chapter 10, verse 2 of the Hebrew, to me, it's very suspicious because they use the Leviticus 23:24 uses a different Hebrew word than Numbers 10:2, which literally means that Hebrew word used in Numbers 10, verse 2, Chatzosera, means a literal trumpet. So to me, it's very suspicious that you got an H8643, a new word there, that is being used, even though Numbers chapter 10, verse 2 tells you that you are supposed to blow silver trumpets on feast days, new moons, and Sabbaths. And what is, the Feast of Trumpets? It's a Sabbath. So again, this does not make a lot of sense to me. Why there's a new Hebrew word being used there when in the Greek it's the same exact word. So anyway, we're going to move on. I don't want to beat the dead horse. So Exodus chapter 19, verse 16 in the Masoretic text and many other places have the Hebrew word shofar translated 68 times as trumpet or cornet. only a few times in his ram's horn. And what I'm referring to is the King James. If you go to older Bibles like the King James, the Tyndale, the Wycliffe, Bibles that would have been during the 1600s and earlier, they don't ever use the term ram's horn to translate H77A2 shofar. And like I showed the viewers earlier, shofar, the primary definition, if you look at the Strongs of H77A2, a cornet, as given a clear sound, or curved horn, cornet, trumpet. So the reason I want to show this is this is the word that in the Messianic, usually Messianic, Messianic Jewish influenced or Hebrew roots influenced Bibles, they will translate shofar as ram's horn, even though the definition doesn't literally, according to the Strong's definition, it doesn't literally say it's an actual ram's horn. Okay, this is the actual definition right here of the H7782. Okay, so we're going to go to Exodus 19:16 of the Masoretic, and we'll also go there for the Septuagint. Okay, so Exodus 19:16. Okay, we're going to go to the Masoretic first. Okay. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mountain, and the voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud, so that all the people in the camp heard. Here we go. Here's the Strongs here, H7782. Like I said before, in the original sense of incising, a cornet. And I've already showed you guys what a cornet looks like. Anyone that just joined the live, I'll show you guys a picture of what a cornet is. But a cornet is not a ram's horn. I can tell you right now, there's a huge difference between that and a ram's horn. Okay. Now, according to the Brown-Drivers-Briggs definition, it's a ram's horn. So now we have conflicting definitions here. We got Brown-Drivers-Briggs saying a ram's horn, even though none of the earlier translators ever translated that word as ram's horn. Especially Brenton, who translated the Greek Septuagint of that, and I'll show you why. Okay, so, and see, this is what I wanted to show here. In the ancient Hebrew lexicon, in this definition, they're being a little bit more honest of the modern Hebrew word here. Okay, it actually means the shape of a ram's horn. Now, again, like I said before, a curved horn is not necessarily a ram's horn. A curved horn could be a cornet, okay? A cornet is curved in a way. It's bent, okay? Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a ram's horn, okay? And the ancient Hebrew lexicon is saying the shape of the ram's horn, okay? The shape of it, okay? Again, to me, that's not, I can't take that definition and say that that's conclusive, okay? That, to me, that's too general. The shape of a ram's horn. Okay, I'm pretty sure there's instruments that have a similar shape to a ram's horn. So, for example, a cornet is a bent, smaller, bent and curved trumpet. So again, and now if we go to the Greek of this, I'm going to show you why I don't believe it's a ram's horn. Okay, and another thing I want to show you, it's important to use the Septuagint, guys, because we're trusting the Masoretic text, which is a Masoretic Hebrew, which researchers have already found out has German influence, okay? It has other influences in their modern Hebrew language, okay? The Septuagint, what the Septuagint did was they translated the earlier, more, more pure Hebrew language into Koine Greek. So that's why it's important to look at this, because sometimes the Septuagint will expose how the Hebrew language has been corrupted and changed since Babylon. And this could have been one of the instances. Now, I can't prove it, but all I'm saying is you're seeing here how the Greek is usually using one word for these verses, usually, and the Hebrew now is already using 3 different words for probably the same thing, talking about the same thing. Now, given if it's a cornet, it's a smaller trumpet, so it's a little bit different. But according to the Greek here, it's the same word as Numbers 10:2 and Leviticus 23:24. Okay? It says in Exodus chapter 19, verse 16, is always translated into English as trumpet or cornet or horn, never translated as ram's horn. Same Greek word as Numbers 10:2, Leviticus 23:24. In the Thayer's Greek lexicon, G4536, Salpigs, Thayer's Greek lexicon, a trumpet. And just for those that have not joined us, I'll put it back on the shared screen. I'll put my I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. Okay, so let's go to Apostolic Bible and Polyglot, and let's go to where they have it here. Trumpet, G4536. So Breton correctly translated as trumpet there, G4536. Okay, Salpigs, okay, a trumpet. And the Strong's, almost the same exact definition, okay? Idea of quavering or reverberation, a trumpet, okay? So again, it's talking about a literal trumpet when they were at the mountain, okay? Most likely it was probably an angel blowing the trumpet. I haven't looked at the context of that chapter, whether it was the Israelites blowing a trumpet or whether it was a trumpet in heaven, which a trumpet in heaven would have definitely been a literal trumpet, you know. Okay, so let's see. Psalms chapter 98, verse 6. We're going to look at this here. Okay, we're going to look at this. Psalms 98, verse 6. We are told to praise Yahuwah with a trumpet of metal. Okay, so we're getting closer to the end of the study here. Now another time, this same Greek word is being used. Okay, same exact Greek word, right? And I just showed you guys this. Salpix, a trumpet. Okay, so now we're going to go to Psalms 98, verse 6. We'll look at the Septuagint and the Masoretic here. I'm pretty sure the Masoretic probably uses shofar or something. Again, so see here, okay. With trumpets of metal. Okay, yeah, you can't interpret that as any type of instrument. I mean, that's pretty literal there. With trumpets of metal and the sound of a trumpet of horn, probably he's talking about the cornet there, make a joyful noise to Yahuwah before the king. Now, notice how it says a trumpet of horn. It does not say a clamoring of the ram's horn, which I'm probably the ISR does. No, actually, they don't. In the 1998, they don't. With trumpets and the sound of a horn. I have no problem with that. That agrees with the Septuagint there. Okay. With trumpets and a voice of a shofar. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Okay. Because we're gonna see what shofar actually means here. But first we'll go to. Now the problem is this is literally keraz G2768. This is what's translated as a horn. Okay, the thing is, a horn doesn't always mean a ram's horn. Okay, you got musical instruments known as French horns or longhorns. Okay, now I understand longhorns were also interpreted as, the horns of a, bull. I get that, but when you talk about musical instruments, you got the French horn. There's other horns that are referring to trumpets. Okay, when we look at the context here, okay, it says the trumpet G4536, salpinx, okay, the quavering or reverberation of trumpet. Same thing with the Greek Thayer's lexicon. So the same Greek word that's being used for a physical, literal silver trumpet to be commanded to be used in Numbers 10:2 and is used for the day of blowing trumpets in Leviticus 23:24, the Septuagint, that same Greek word is in this verse in context. It's talking about the sound or the sound of a trumpet of the horn, a trumpet of horn, okay? Obviously, if the word trumpet's there and a literal trumpet, not just any type of instrument, is talking about a trumpet. It's talking about blowing a trumpet. Shout before the king. Let's see. Shout before the King Yahuwah. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Masoretic here. Cornet. And they actually even translate. Notice how the King James 1611 actually translates cornet for shofar. I just want to show you guys that, okay? They actually translated it as cornet. Why? Because if you go to the Strong's, a cornet. That's why. Okay? With trumpets and sound of cornet, make a joyful noise before Yahuwah the King. Okay, so, and I know, and like we said before, the Browns driver Briggs will say ram's horn. You know, like I said, I'm not convinced by the Brown driver's Briggs just because I know what the Septuagint version of that verse says. And if that's the case, and the Masoretic is saying ram's horn, and the Septuagint is saying a trumpet, just like it said in other verses, then I'm going to go with trumpet. And like you've seen, guys, the majority of this time, it's one Greek word being used. I mean, yeah, you had the keras, but the keras more or less is what the trumpet is of in that verse. So, like I said, and if that Strong's definition is correct for the Hebrew version of it, I would think the Greek version of it would be referring to a cornet too, which either way, a cornet is a version of a trumpet. It's a smaller trumpet. It's a somewhat curved, bent trumpet. That's all a cornet is. So either way, it doesn't matter. Either way. But the actual commandment that's being used in Psalms 98 verse 6 is talking about blowing of the salpinx, the trumpet. So anyway. So 1 Chronicles 15 verse 28. G4536, and again, in the Greek, salpinx. So the same word that was used in Joel chapter 2 verse 1, Numbers chapter 10 verse 2, Leviticus 23:24, Psalms 98 verse 6. All these are the same exact Greek word. Okay, it says Thayer's Greek lexicon, a trumpet. All right. So all right, so 1 Chronicles 15 verse 28. Okay. And we're going to go to the Greek first. And all Yasharel was leading the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah with a cheer and with the sound of a soterion. Okay, soterion. Now, what I don't like is the fact that they put soterion here, which does not, and I'm sorry, I'm sorry, bud, but that's incorrect, bud. You're catering to the Masoretic text here. Okay, if you look at the Greek word here, it does not mean ram's horn. Okay, G4992. Soterion. Okay, it just means a defender, or by implication, defense salvation. So wow, that's way off. that is extremely way off. Saving, bringing salvation. So to be honest, it should say in English, with the sound of salvation, not ram's horn. Okay, so you see how certain translators are trying to cater to the tradition of ram's horn here. I mean, this is bad, man. I don't know how you get ram's horn there. Okay, look at the Bretons here with the sound of a horn. Even a horn is technically not correct there. It should say the sound of salvation, the sound of saving, the sound of bringing salvation. Okay, that's what this word means. Okay, and then it says, and this is the word that's in the verse I wanted to point to here, because it says, and with trumpets. Okay. Salpinx, same Greek word here, right? A trumpet, all right? So the Masoretic text most likely says here, a cornet. Okay, I'm cool with that, cornet, cornet. Again, the King James chooses to translate as cornet. So King Jimmy is using the definition that Strong's based his definition on. That's why he translated as cornet.
So the Brown Drivers Briggs, I don't know where they're getting ram's horn from. I really don't know. I'm guessing they're getting it from, the shape of the ram's horn, like the ancient Hebrew lexicon wants to say. But again, if that's the case in the Masoretic text, like that word shofar means ram's horn, I would have to go with salpinx because it makes the most sense. Okay, and again, you even have chatzosera, which literally means a trumpet in this verse. So chatzosera, the Hebrew equivalent to the Greek salpinx, is in this verse, talking about making a sound with literal trumpets. And then notice how now it talks about cymbals, okay? And then it specifically gives you cymbals, psalteries. But this word cornet, I'm sorry, but I really don't believe shofar means ram's horn. I don't see enough proof. Just because one dictionary says ram's horn, I'm not buying it. I'm really not. And just you can't get that from the Septuagint. You really can't. The G4992, like I said before, generally speaking, just means the sound of bringing salvation. It's not even mentioning an instrument here. It's not even mentioning an instrument. So you can't even use this argument, this verse, for the argument of ram's horn. And then the actual instrument being instanced about blowing is the G4536, which is the silver trumpet salpinx, which, again, we see all over the Septuagint. This one main word is being used for the commandment of the day of blowing trumpets, the commandment of calling together assemblies of Number chapter 10, verse 2, even the blowing in Sion for the day of Yahuwah, according to the Greek, is salpinx in Joel chapter 2, verse 1, and the commandment of Psalms 98, verse 6 of praising Yahuwah with a literal trumpet. So to me, it's not conclusive just because, and this is just my opinion, I'm just, stating my opinion, what I believe. I just don't think the Brown Driver Briggs by itself, one witness like that, is strong enough for me, in my opinion. So anyway. So Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 20, 2 Chronicles 15:14, Judges 3:27, Judges 6:34, Judges 7:18 to 20 and 22. The Brenton English Septuagint, translated from the Greek, is always translated as a horn, in generally speaking, not a ram's horn, but like a horned instrument, a horn, or cornet. And G2768, Keraz, Thayer's Greek lexicon, a horn, okay? That's all it means, a horn. Okay, it doesn't mean a ram's horn. If to say that it means a ram's horn, you would have to add to that definition. You would have to literally add to the text and say that the word ram is part of that when it's not part of that word. So this is why I'm bringing this up, because really there's just not enough proof for it, in my opinion, to be using a ram's horn to call the assembly, to blow on the feast days. And like I said, I'm not trying to attack my brothers and sisters. I'm just stating what Scripture is literally saying. This is what Yahuwah showed me that his word is literally saying. This is not, I'm not trying to force my beliefs down people's throats at all. I'm not trying to do that. So please don't misunderstand. Okay, so again, now if we go to the Hebrew of those same verses, of Nehemiah, 2 Chronicles, Judges, and 1 Chronicles, it's H7782, shofar, Strong's definition in the original sense of incising, a cornet. Again, the Strong's actually supports more of an idea that this shofar word means a smaller curved trumpet, not a ram's horn. So, like I said, the only way you're going to get a literal definition of ram's horn is from the Brown's Drivers Briggs, which I really don't know where they're getting that from. I really don't know, because Strong's is never giving that definition in their definitions. So again, for me, I need a second witness. The ancient Hebrew lexicon says shape of a ram's horn, and to me, that's just not a viable second witness. It's just not. It's a general definition, shape of a ram's horn. And like I said before, the shape of a ram's horn and the shape of a cornet is very similar. Okay, so to me, that's not definitive, in my opinion. It's just not. So again, technically, a ram's horn and cornets both have similar shapes, like I just iterated. So to me, that's not enough proof to say that the word means ram's horn, and I stand by that. I really don't. I don't see it. I really don't see it. I think somewhere along down the line. Now, this is pure speculation. I'm going to admit this is not any proof. This is not doctrine. This is pure speculation on my part. Is that at some point in time, after Babylon, a tradition came that they started they started using a ram's horn, whether I don't know, maybe they weren't physically able to make the silver trumpet anymore or what have it. But the thing is, and I still kind of question that, because the Middle Ages you had blacksmiths, so I kind of I kind of question even that assumption that they weren't able to physically make the silver trumpets anymore, because Nebuchadnezzar took all the vessels from the temple, and I'm pretty sure Yahuwah would have told them whatever was left over from the metal that they used to make the silver trumpets in Numbers 10 would have been stocked away for that type of purpose if they had to make new trumpets. So to me, I don't know. It's kind of an assertion that they had to use something else other than the trumpets after Babylon. But I do think there was a tradition that possibly after Babylonian influence, they started substituting a cornet or the original silver trumpets with ram's horns and horns of animals to blow. And I think something happened where a tradition came in, a tradition of man came in, and I think this is what has happened. Like I said, you guys heard me. I think. I don't know for sure. This is a theory I have, because especially from the Septuagint, you can't get it. Not and like I said, the majority of the time, the majority of these verses like that we've went through, almost every time salpinx, the Greek word salpinx, a literal trumpet is being used. So again, to me, the Septuagint seems to have a stronger argument, and it seems to be more consistent with what they were told to blow with. They were told to blow with a physical silver trumpet. And any of my brothers and sisters that are curious and feel convicted, that as I felt convicted when I came across this information, and you guys want to get a silver trumpet, I'll provide a link in the description. The guy's website is called the Shofar Man, where you can get silver trumpets or ram's horns. Obviously I would recommend getting a silver trumpet because of what I just showed in this study today, and not what I showed, but what Yahuwah showed in his word, and what I was just a vessel. I was just someone Yahuwah used to bring this message out, that this is what his word says. But anyway, so like I said before, I pray that all my brothers and sisters out there don't take this as me trying to attack you for what your present convictions are and what and I know there's going to be differences, but I really feel like if we take the Septuagint over the Masoretic text, there will be no controversy, because that one Greek word is being used the majority of the time when it's talking about what we're supposed to blow to praise Yahuwah, to what we're supposed to blow on the day of blowing trumpets, and all those other verses. The majority of the time was that same Greek word. So I really think there was in my opinion, my theory is there was a conspiracy, because to me it just doesn't make sense. You got so many different Hebrew words being used for the same context of really one thing, and to me, I think probably after the vowel points were added, they started making all these extra modern Hebrew words that probably were never originally there, to me. And I just don't buy the Masoretic text version of Leviticus 23:24. I really don't buy it. I definitely agree with the Septuagint saying it's a literal trumpet, the same word, the same exact literal word as Numbers 10 verse 2. So I pray that this message would be a baraka to you guys, and I pray that you would not catch offenses uh, about this topic. I know it's a very, very touchy subject, and I understand why the brethren wanted to try to really. They meant well by trying to, you know, not try to bring in division by saying it has to be a certain instrument and stuff like that. But from what I've seen, it is a certain instrument. It's not as general as we thought. About Numbers chapter 10 verse 2 and Leviticus 23:24 about the day of blowing. Okay, it is one singular literal specific instrument. So that's all I wanted to end with today. I pray that this message would be a baraka to all my brothers and sisters out there, and that this would be a way to witness about some of the things of our belief to non-believers out there, that whoever might be watching, whether non-believers, Christians, Muslims, whoever are out there. So thank you for joining in. Thank you for bearing with me. I know this was longer than I thought it was going to be, but I really wanted to try to break down this study as simply as possible. So thank you for joining me today. Have a great rest of your day, guys. See ya.